What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Episode 1, Chasing Worlds. So on Twitter, you guys did vote, and you guys did say that you wanted me to make coaching content. I decided that, it's World Championships. We're less than a week away from Worlds, so I'd probably just try to get some content like that out there. Um, so yeah, we're going to kick it off with episode 1 of Chasing Worlds. This is going to be a series where I'm pretty much just going to talk about pretty much how I think the tournament's gonna go, and then as the tournament like goes on, like day one, day two, day three, I'll make videos about like what I expected to happen and what kind of happened in actuality. So that'll be pretty cool, and I hope you guys like that. So we're gonna get started with this episode. So basically in this one, what I'm gonna do is I'm pretty much just gonna go over the different groups, the different players in the groups, their history, and pretty much how I see the groups going, and what I think could be the worst case scenarios for certain teams. So let's get started with Group A. So Group A is this bottom one down here. It has Team Secret, Phoenix Armada, previously Invincible Armada, and Vivienne, which replaced Illmatic. So for those who were following the whole Worlds thing before groups, or like as groups were announced, or no, it wasn't even as groups were announced. I'm pretty sure it was actually like before groups were even drawn. Illmatic was actually the representative team for Japan, um, but due to internal reasons, they just couldn't come. They decided to pretty much give their seed away to the second best team in Japan, which would be Vivienne. And honestly, I use the term second best really loosely because really, Illmatic, they qualified from winning the GLP, which is the Gamers, or GPL, which is the Gamers Pro League over in Japan. That's their league. Um, they're like Evil 8 kind of. And yeah, I mean they dominated the league and all, but when it came to down to like online tournaments, Vivienne was definitely showing up a lot harder, a lot more omnipotent than Illmatic. So um, I honestly think it's actually a lot better for the region that they sent Vivienne after all. But we'll get into that later. Then we have Group B up on top, which is the group of death without a doubt, with Gangstar Service, Team Solo Mid, and Hack. So we're going to take a look at Group A really quick first. So Group A, you have Secret, Armada, and Vivienne. Secret, this is a team that dominated Europe for the better part of like the past year. Since summer, a lot of people have been giving them kind of heat for kind of underperforming, uh, like at online events, and obviously, I mean, like LAN events too, letting Team Snow Avalanche actually end up winning the whole CC tournament that season. They've gotten a lot of heat from Twitch chat, from like Mob Crush, from banned forums and everything. And like personally, I don't really support this team. I've never really been a fan. Like anyone who really knows like the teams I go for knows I'm not really a big Team Secret fan. Um, but I it's kind of a weird place. I think for them and Hammer's Velocity too. These were some of the first teams to qualify for Worlds, and when you're qualifying for a tournament that's like over 6 months away, um, it kind of puts you in a weird spot because, I mean, yeah, you want to do good. You want to keep doing good so you can keep getting better, win more tournaments, win more money. But you also kind of want to keep stuff secret. Secrets. Anywho, but yeah, you kind of want to keep things like on the down low. I mean, you don't want to give away too much about yourselves. And when you're talking about a team like Team Secret, like the pride and joy of like the European region, um, I mean, you already have like thousands of people watching these people constantly, following their Twitter pages, following them in game, always seeing what they're playing, always seeing how they draft, um, and that's kind of poison to you when you're going into like international tournament like a world championship. So I think I don't know. I Part of me likes to think that they kind of intentionally underperformed just so as not to kind of give away everything about the team heading into Worlds. Um, but then another part of me also slightly feels like it could actually just be that um, maybe they just underperformed. But like recently, especially recently, with Worlds on the deadline and coming up, this team has actually been practicing a lot. They're currently boot camping, like a lot of these other world caliber teams. A lot of them are boot camping in North America already. Um, but Team Secret, they're definitely putting a lot into fixing themselves up before Worlds. Um, and like when they first announced groups, I honestly thought like Team Secret like honestly could actually drop the group, but like just seeing how hard they're working these past couple days, um, it kind of just makes me feel like maybe they actually I'm kind of underestimating them a little bit too much. So I guess we'll see. This will be one of the teams I'll have to watch during group stage. Um, then you have Phoenix Armada, previously Invincible Armada. Previously the roster was like Druid, Wine, and Ruin. Um, but with the retirement of Wine after the CMEG tournament, I think, over in China, um, the team was going to disband, but Druid basically said that he wanted to kind of stick within the Armada team and get it the world championship title that it kind of deserves, and I really like that. So him and Mango run the team, and originally, or I think PQQ is still like I think when Arena 8 starts up, PQQ will still be the roamer for the team, but for this specific tournament, they are actually bringing in Holy Dragon, who is widely considered one of the best supports in the Korean region, and honestly, like all of East Asia, this guy is kind of a beast. And actually, Big Paws from North America. I don't know too much about why they added Big Paws to the roster, or if they actually intend to kind of play him. Um, it's gonna be really interesting to see. Uh, I wish I could talk about that. I honestly, I know no information as to why or how that happened. But yeah. And then you have Vivienne, which is replacing Ilmatic for Japan. This is a team that has actually played with a lot of these top class Eastern Asian teams um, in the what is it called, like the Battle of the Dragon and Tiger Cup. They actually beat Invincible Armada, I believe, and won that tournament online. They also play in the GPL. They are constantly like placing like second place, I believe. But they're definitely just a really strong team all around. I mean, like Vivi Keys or Q's or however you, I don't know, actually know how to pronounce that. That's definitely my player to watch on this team. Um, I think it's gonna be interesting how this team is gonna have to kind of adapt to play against these other two teams, because you have like Phoenix Armada, who previously focused on a kind of team style where they would just let Druid get farmed up on like a hyper carry like Vox or Celeste, and the other two players of the team kind of just like play kind of passive until Druid's like ready to ready to go, and then they just kind of just get him fed as crazy and let him do what he does. But now you have this new roster that we've never seen before on an international stage. Um, with Mango and Holy Monk, and Mango is a really, really kind of aggressive slash control jungler. Um, definitely, it almost kind of reminds me of Ansi, but definitely not as aggressive. Um, but I mean, he's a strong jungler. You have Holy Monk, who is really great at adapting to like different players' playstyles. So I mean, this is gonna be like a Invincible Armada or Phoenix Armada that we've never really seen before. It's not gonna be just the Druid show. It's gonna be all about like teamwork actually. So that's gonna be really interesting to see how that plays out. Then you have Team Secret, of course. I mean, this team is like the most team-oriented, like team work-oriented team I've ever seen in Bangalore, and I mean one of the like great examples that you can like show to prove that is that this is the only team in the entire world that actually has not had like dramatic roster changes in the last year. Um, I mean, you have like Cloud9 from North America, who like Hardek and Lost Boy, they've been a dynamic duo for like over a year by now. But like the jungle position always kind of switches between like Joseph or like Von C. Um, but Team Secret, it's always been Kvalifar, Mowgli, and I'm blanking. I'm gonna wait for the pop-up to come up because I'm blanking on these names. Oh, Palmatoro, yeah. My bad, Palma. I'm so sorry. Um, but like it's been these three guys ever since Media Pixel Esports like came into Vainglory. So I mean, it's crazy. Um, this is a team that's really understands each other, is better than anyone else will at this tournament. And that actually might, you know, like I don't know, it could mean something. um, but I mean, like this group in particular, I guess what I'm trying to say is actually just interesting because all three teams right now are actually really into kind of just making plays, playing as a team, playing for the late game. And I mean, like with other teams, like North American teams, South American teams, I mean, they aren't really as farm orientated. I mean, last hitting is important, but I mean, they're kind of more kill glory. Um, but these are definitely gonna be like, I think, longer games for sure. I think they're definitely gonna range from like 22, 25, maybe even more minutes. Um, and at the end of the day, it's just gonna be these really long games, and it's gonna be like those 30 seconds in that last team fight of the game, and then it's not even gonna be that. It's gonna be like who can land the best crucible, who's gonna be able to save the reflex block for when they actually need it the most. Who's gonna have the most vision on the map, who's going to have the better draft. The draft is gonna be crazy important when playing against like two other teams that are like arguably some of the best at team fighting in the event. So it's going to be an interesting group. The way I predicted to see this go, Phoenix Armada 2-0ing it, of course. Um, Team Secret tying 1-1, and Vivian tying 1-1. And then I think I predicted on my like actual pick'ems that Team Secret moves on. Or no, I think I said Vivian moves on actually. But I think again like Team Secret showing a lot of dedication. I think me and a lot of other people have just been underestimating this team. It could very well just go that Team Secret actually 2-0s the group. Who knows? Maybe this new Phoenix Armada roster is gonna kind of choke on the international stage. Mango's been there before, Druid's been there before, but I don't actually think Holy Monk has actually been on a international stage before, and that's a lot of pressure. I mean, and it's not only that too. I mean, there's sure, there's the OGN studio in front of like a couple dozen people. That's one thing, and that's still nerve-wracking. But this is like the Chinese TCL theater in Hollywood. I mean, you're in a whole different country. You're gonna be in front of like hundreds of people, not just like a couple dozen. You're gonna have a bunch of lights on you. You're gonna have a bunch of pressure on you, and you have the Armada like tag. I mean, people are considering this team to be like I consider the second seed into this event, but a lot of other people consider them the first seed going to this event. So I mean, that's a lot of pressure, especially for someone that's never performed like at this level. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that actually plays out, because I think for Phoenix Armada, this is either going to go really, really good or really, really bad. I don't really think there's going to be a middle ground. The biggest upset that I could see in this group, Group A, is probably going to be Vivian 2-0ing the group, with Phoenix Armada going 0-2, and Team Secret moving on with Vivian. That'd be a crazy upset. So yeah, let's just get onto the group of death. That's the one I really want to talk about. So we have Hack from Korea, we have Team Solo Mid from North America, and we have Gangstar Cerberus from Europe. Wow. God, this group is so strong. Okay, so Gangstar Cerberus, I mean, they came up in spring season. They were always considered one of the best teams in Europe from the start. Definitely, without a doubt, one of the best. You have Tedno. He's just an amazing carry, amazing personality in the Bangalore community. Um, Constantly streaming, constantly getting so many views on his streams. Um, and I think for a while the biggest problem with this team was that like in online play they would actually do pretty good, but they never really won the like Evil 8 online stuff. And then from there too, like on lands too, they kind of underperformed. And they would never really. I mean, they'd never place like bottom four, or they. I mean, they'd place top four, but you know they wouldn't really win stuff. Like you wouldn't see like first place Gangstar Cerberus. And I think that really bugged people because for a while Team Secret and Gangstar Cerberus were like the like, and I mean still are, especially today, um, the flagship teams for Europe. Um, so heading into this final August split, I personally was worried that like, this is a team that's like, yeah, they're really strong, they deserve to go to Worlds, but they've never really managed to get to that like first place victory that they need the most. But they definitely they did it, and they're here, and I don't think they're gonna stop. So you have that. You have Team Solo Mid, also coming into summer season, with Best Chuck NA, Von C, and Flash X on this roster. Um, I mean, personally, I was very, very skeptical coming into summer. Um, but my God, by the end of summer, they were just the absolute gods of NA, the absolute gods of the world. In my opinion, I am a total TSM fanboy. I am predicting them #1 seed. They're gonna win it all. I could talk about this team for days, so I'm just gonna try to cut it short. But I mean, this is a team that right now has so many things going for them. So right now they are definitely, I'd say, the highest mechanical skilled team in the world. They have a team house now. They've been there for a couple weeks now. That is an advantage that no other team in the world has coming into this tournament. I mean, sure, people are boot camping, but these guys are like living together. I mean, they're brushing their teeth together. They're taking out the trash. They're going to the strip in Vegas. I mean, like this is like they're bonding a lot more than other teams can. They're putting a lot more time into the game than other teams can. And I mean, just looking back at the summer championships, you had teams at boot camp, sure. You had teams that would practice like 4 to 5 hours a day online. Sure, I mean, that's great practice. But Team Solomid, they were practicing for like 9+ hours a day. Their boot camps are intense. Their boot camps make sense. Their training is with a purpose. And it absolutely was just so obvious to tell like how much harder they practice in that one event than any other team there. I mean, they 3-0'd the freaking finals. They didn't drop a single game um, throughout the tournament. It's crazy. Um, so, I mean, definitely I consider them the best. They're also their hero pools. I mean, Von C pulls out CP Finn at the Summer Championships in Game 1. I mean, it's just really like they have such deep hero pools, and that's one of the things that these teams need to kind of understand, and probably the hardest thing to understand coming into like a world championship is the meta for different regions. Um, and I think North American and European teams especially have a really big disadvantage coming into this tournament, just because it is so simple to just like go on YouTube, go on Twitch, go on Google in general, type in North American, European, Evil 8, or just go to VaingloryEsports.com, and you will find VODs of all the teams. You can go to VaingloryStatistics.com. You can find in-depth stats of these North American and European laners, junglers, supports, like their gold per minute on average, their hero pick percentage, the team's ban percentage of certain heroes. Like, there's so much information out there of these like top premier teams. Whereas in other regions, like Chinese teams, I mean, I dare you to actually go and try to find information on these Chinese teams. Um, I mean, it's really tough. Personally, when I was working on the international power rankings, um, finding information on Chinese teams, on South American teams. I mean, these are regions that aren't really. I mean, Chinese Vainglory is actually really popular. Um, it's just that like the internet is kind of different for them than it is for us, for like government reasons, and so it's really hard to find like information. Um, so I mean, it's definitely a disadvantage, but Team Still Amid that doesn't really kind of apply to them because their hero pools are so deep. Their understanding of the drafting phase, like with Flash X as the captain, I mean, it's just crazy. For a while, um, Flash, I mean, from what when I was like rising ranks still, no one would really ever like talk like god tier of Flash because I mean, people knew like yeah he understands the game like really deep, really good, but his mechanical skills weren't really on point. And I think that was kind of still true during winter season when they still did win the North American title that season. But Flash definitely wasn't who he is today. Today he's definitely considered a god tier player. He's definitely trained and practiced so hard, so now he's actually like a total threat. I mean, this is a guy that's just really determined, has a really in-depth understanding, and is actually really mechanically skilled. Um, so I mean, Team Solomid, I'm sorry I made this a really long rant, but definitely the best team. And then we have Hack, who I think are third best team heading into this event. I've also been a very fanboy of Hack since the quarterfinals of the VGL Spring Korea. I first saw them play. I saw how they drafted the game. I saw how they played the game, and it was just, oh my god. I remembered. I was like, this team is gonna win it. Like, there's no way that like it doesn't matter who they go against. They're gonna win this. I could already tell, and they did. They did go on to win that season. They actually managed to also place second place at the most recent VIPL. Um, which is kind of controversial with that VIPL. We'll make a whole video for that eventually. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that kind of like I would say has a drafting phase that is like kind of similar to Team Solomid, where you can't really predict what they play because their hero pools are just huge. And they bring out these really weird comps that you don't think will work. Like one of the ones that like wrecked, I think it was Gangstar Series in VIPL 3. I think it was like Catherine, Petal, and Kestrel probably. And I mean, at the time, at that patch, especially in like solo queue, these three picks were not really like seen too often. When you had things like Finn and Arden that could like shield and protect your allies and like hard CC. Whereas Catherine was just kind of there, had a stun every couple seconds and a silence. So they had this really weird draft, and like Petal, of course, was a potato at the time. This was before her like rework, I think, which is what is now today. So I mean, you saw this like comp, and you were like, what are they doing? And they just absolutely steamrolled Gangstar Sirius at the time. And I mean, I just love watching them draft. I love watching them play. They're always having a really fun time. Like even if they're losing games, like even if you like watch the footage from when they lost in the grand finals, they weren't like sad. They weren't like, oh my god, we lost, guys. These guys were like actually happy. They were like shaking hands. They were hugging it out. That's just what I love to see from these teams. And getting a little off topic. Um, but this is definitely going to be a group of death. I could talk about these three teams for like a whole 30-minute video, which is actually what we're kind of getting on with this video. I really don't want to do that. So I don't know, maybe I'll actually just make videos for these three teams alone. We'll see. The way I see this group playing out, alright. So when I predicted this, when I first saw this group, I actually predicted that every single team would tie 1-1. I think I predicted TSM to beat Gangstar Service, lose the Hack, Hack to, like, beat Gangsters, it's just like a triangle, like a trifecta thing. And then from there, I predicted, like, TSM and Hack would leave the group, Gangstar Service would lose. But honestly, I don't even know what I put on my pick'ems. but it's going to be a really close group. I think TSM is going to win the group for sure. But between Gangstar Servers and Hack, it could honestly go either way. Um, Hack is really, really good at drafting phase, which is debatably like a really kind of almost more important than the actual game itself in this current patch, and especially against like European teams. But then you have like Gangstar Sirius, who are like pretty good at draft, and but they're actually like really, really good mechanically. Whereas Hack, they're kind of like they're not like bad, definitely not bad, but they're not like god tier like TSM. So I think it's going to be really close games between these two teams in specific. I think we're looking at games that are going to be kind of like Team Solo Mid. They can adapt their playstyle to any of the two teams. But I think both these other teams are really aggressive for the most part. I think the players to watch in this group, I think they're going to be Tetno, Vansi, and Dada. I love Dada, but yeah, definitely keep an eye on those three. Again, TSM I predict to win the group. I guess Hack also moves on, and Gangstar Cerberus is gonna maybe drop, but I don't know. It could go either way, guys. It's gonna be really close. So that's it for Group A and B. So now we're gonna go to C and D. So going to Group C, we have Gangstar Sirius from North America. We have Infamous Legion from Southeast Asia. And we have, what was the third team? I guess we'll have to wait for the PowerPoint. Let's go. Load. So yeah, you have Infamous Legion, Gangstar Sirius. Oh, and Snow Avalanche. Yeah, so a lot of people, the second they saw this group, they just said, easy ticket for Gangstar Sirius. And I did too as well. But I mean, these are all 12 of these teams are the best teams in their respective regions. I don't think a single team that is here at this tournament does not deserve to be at this tournament. Definitely, they dominate their regions. I mean, like Snow's kind of the only like debatable one, but I mean, honestly, like at LANs, they show up. I mean, online is one thing, but I think with like Snow Avalanche and Snow Tsunami, they had this kind of thing where like in online tournaments they did okay, but the second they just felt the energy from the crowd and like the hype, they just turned into whole new like players. So I mean, they flipped the whole summer tournament to qualify for this. So I mean, that's pretty crazy. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, definitely, I kind of predict it. Just Gangstar Series will 2-0. I'm very sure. I just don't think it's going to be an easy as group as people are kind of predicting it. Infamous Legion, they've actually just completed their. Alright, so they were the champions of, like, what was it, like winter, spring, summer, and now August. They just played their matches today, this morning, I think. Finished at like 5 a.m. I woke up for it and watched it, and they have now been the champions of the Tesseract League for a whole year. Definitely the best team from SEA, but a lot of people kind of question, does it really matter? Because, a lot of these SEA teams are almost like North American Challenger level, maybe even below. It's kind of debatable. I don't know. I mean, I think it's gonna depend a lot for Infamous Legion on how they spend these like last couple days before Worlds. I don't think they're boot camping. I have not gotten word that they are boot camping, which could be a problem. But I mean, this is a team that's played together for a year. Tesseract does not have any lands though, so I think some of the problems that this team's gonna face is gonna be, how they react to the crowd. Stage fright could make or break teams at this tournament. Yeah, I mean, it's the world champion. These are the best teams in the world, but it's still a thing, guys. I mean, people are still nervous. People are still afraid. It's a lot of pressure. First world championship. You're having not only like thousands of people from home watching, not only hundreds of people live watching, but you have these professional organizations. There are so many organizations right now that have their eyes on Vainglory, that are going to be watching this tournament to determine the kind of validity of it as an esport. And like that's the thing too, is like the prize pool is like 120K, but teams that do good at this event are gonna be watched and they're gonna be noted, and as they push through preseason, I'm very sure that a lot of these teams will probably receive an offer of some sort from some kind of organization. I mean, like we've seen other organizations before, and I mean, like Cloud9 even C9, there was like a rumor or something that like winter season that they were looking at teams. Then they kind of disappeared, and people were like, oh, maybe they just said that it's not like valid enough. Then summer season comes, they pick up Nemesis Hydra. It takes time, and I mean we've seen other like orgs invest into like not only Vainglory, just mobile esports in general. Like companies in general, like HyperX, they're hosting this league for COPS. You have Team Liquid, who actually were one of the first like orgs to like bring in a professional Clash Royale like streamer / competitor with Hyponics. He's actually one of my favorite like mobile streamers, so pretty cool that Liquid's into that. And then I mean like Immortals, like if you were watching TwitchCon and keeping up with TwitchCon recently in San Diego, Immortals, they actually did go into the Vainglory booth. They picked it up. There was pictures of like Wild Turtle playing, like I think it was like Black Feather or something. I don't know. But I mean these like orgs, they have their eyes on it. So I mean these teams are being watched by so many people. It's just going to be a lot of pressure. And like maybe some of them aren't really thinking about it, but then maybe like 1 second on stage, it's gonna be like it's gonna really click. Like this is a really big moment. Like these guys are making history. I mean, not even just like Vainglory history, but like esports history. Like these are the first gamers that are gonna be participating at the first ever World Championship LAN for a mobile esport. I mean, like there's gonna be so many articles written about this specific tournament. It's going to be huge, and I don't know. I personally hope that Infamous Legion can handle that kind of pressure. I hope it really doesn't get to them, especially that they couldn't really boot camp, I don't think. But we're going to see. And then the third team in the group, you have I think we actually went over the groups. Wow. Yeah, we did. So Avalanche, yeah. All right, so I see the group going 2-0 Gangstar Cerberus leading the group. Or Sirius, my bad. Infamous Legion 1-1, and Snow Avalanche 1-1. I see Snow Avalanche moving on in the group. This is a team that actually has LAN experience. This is a team that's like noted to be an underdog, and I mean like recently too, their manager, Look at Me, actually took all their tournament winnings, changed their password to their Twitter account or something, and just ran away with the money. SCMC did end up helping Team Snow get like a lawyer, I think. I'm not really too sure what happened on the scenario. I'm really sorry for Snow Avalanche and the Snow organization and guild. It's a really crappy thing to do. But it definitely put a little roadblock for this team. Like I think the 2 weeks before Worlds is probably the most crucial time for development and preparation for Worlds. So to have to go through that like huge, like that's a big deal, guys. So that's like a really big scandal kind of. And to have to deal with that instead of focusing purely on improving, purely on like what these other teams are gonna do, I think it definitely set them back a little bit. But this is a team that like thrives on being an underdog. I could see them moving on from the groups. I don't really see them moving on from Elimination Day, but I mean, I didn't see them winning summer season either, so who knows what's going to happen. So moving on to Group D, before this video gets way too long, we have Hunters. Interesting, we'll talk about that. We have Red Canids from South America, and we have Hammer's Velocity from North America. So I think the first team we should really talk about here is Hammer's Velocity. Similar to Team Secret, like I said earlier, this is one of the first teams to qualify for the World Championship in spring season. You know, it's just, I mean, they've kept up a pretty constant kind of work ethic kind of gameplay. I mean, summer season they did make it to the finals, placed second against Team Solomid. But a lot of people right now are kind of also really bashing this team for their underperformance in August split or autumn split. And you know, I think in general, what I kind of want to say is autumn split was kind of super stupid. I really didn't support it. I didn't like it at all, and I'll tell you why. So for autumn split, the first thing I hated was that the winner of split 2 goes to Worlds. So the whole split 1 was actually pointless. Like all those games, they actually did not matter one bit. I mean, I guess for money for winning like the online like split, sure, but besides that, it really wasn't anything. There's no like, I mean, you could have tried your hardest, and we did. Like one example, G2 Esports, one of my favorite teams from Europe. Um, I'm trying not to be biased, but I mean, this like honestly kind of sucks. I mean, G2 for a while. I mean, there were some little bits and patches last year where like Team Secret was contested by like SK Gaming and G2. I mean, these teams were constantly considered like one of the best teams in Europe. But then there was also a little brief time where G2 and SK were both like underperforming. But then this last split, in first split, we saw G2 and SK, like G2 in particular, I mean, they win week 1, they win week 2, and people are like, dude, how long is this going to keep up? And I mean, they just kept placing so high after bringing in Hundor for the lane. And, you know, I mean, they finished like first place for the split, but it didn't really matter because only the split 2 champion goes to Worlds. And I mean, I think they placed third place in split 2 too, which really just sucks. And I mean, for Cloud9 2 North America, you know, split 1, I think they did face relegation, the challengers, but I mean, split 2, they just woke up and they were actually like neck and neck to go to Worlds with Gangstar Series. They did lose a game, and that just ended it right there. But you know, I really just did not really like how only the split 2 winner got to go. And it also made things weird for the teams that won summer finals. I mean, and spring too, in the sense that like you're so close to Worlds, so you kind of have to start like experimenting with things, but it's still kind of important that you still make money in the meantime, and it's still kind of important that you keep trying. But then like if you try too hard, people are gonna like, because you're really close to Worlds at this point, so you're at like a weird position where you're kind of close to Worlds, so you don't want to try your hardest because people are gonna know like, oh, recently this is how they've been playing, so we can anticipate they're gonna improve by like this much. But then you're also like really, I mean, it's still a couple months from like first autumn split. So I mean, it's a really weird in between period. I just wasn't really a fan of autumn split. But yeah, so I don't think Hammer's Velocity should be judged just on performance for autumn split. They definitely are a strong team. All year long, they've been consistently playing and placing at really high levels. It's just autumn split, I think they honestly just didn't really put too much emphasis into it. They are boot camping. They've been boot camping for, I think, either today or a couple days in the Hammer's house. And, you know, it's just, they're going to be doing pretty good at this event, I would say. But if what we saw during autumn was the actual Hammer's Velocity, like what's actually like the team right now, it could be bad. So moving on, Then you have like Hunters, and this is another really like kind of weird team because we've never seen this roster play together. Um, I think the roster that's in the slideshow right now is actually inaccurate. Um, but I mean, this is a roster. I'm gonna pull it up on VaingloryEsports.com really quick. Give me 1 second, please. But yeah, like this is a team that's never actually played together. Queen definitely one of the oldest competitive players in terms of like history. Um, she's been playing since like the Vainglory World Invitational, the first ever international tournament. She's captain of the team, always has been. Played VIPLs 1 through 3, Samsung Galaxy Invitational, the Chinese Invitational, CMEG, SIG, and VML. VML being the tournament that they won to qualify for Worlds. Yeah, and then you have Babala, who is also Chinese, the jungler, and he did play in VIPL 3, he did play CMEG, but I don't, like, it's just a weird thing. And then you have, like, Revenger X, he's actually from Singapore, their laner, and I'm reading this just off the website because honestly I have no information of this guy. Like I've never really like focused on him. And it says here that he did play Tesseract Winter 2016 to Summer, and that he did play Tesseract Pro League 2016. But this is going to be their first time performing together. I think it's going to be something similar to like Infamous Legion, where I don't really know how they're going to handle it all. But it's going to be really important that they do. Queen's really experienced though, so maybe she'll be able to like talk some calming words to them, kind of hold the group together like glue. Definitely one of the best roamers in China. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play the game. I've never personally seen this team play together, so it's going to be really interesting. And then last but not least, we have Red Canids, previously Amaterasu Gaming, but were acquired by a major organization in South America. When I first heard that news, I was like, dude, that's crazy. I personally have followed Red Canids for about 2 years now. But like it's South America. South America is the least developed region without a doubt in Vainglory. They don't really have too many tournaments that people watch. I mean, even the Vainglory Master Series that they won to qualify for this event, they didn't really get too many viewers on that. And it's just because like South America, like I don't know, it doesn't really intrigue like NA, it doesn't really intrigue EU, and like the Asian teams are all kind of on different internets, so there's really no reason to kind of watch it. The players definitely aren't as developed as the other players, like in North America and Europe, and it's just a lot of things really. So Amaterasu Gaming, they did play at VIPL 3. They were the first ever South American team to play at an international Vainglory event. The run did not really end too well. People didn't really know what to expect at all coming to VIPL 3, except for like the teams that actually went. Because like most people didn't even know that there was a South America region, so they didn't know what to expect. Amaterasu Gaming, just to give you a little background, I mean, this is a team that it has kind of a dominance like Infamous Legion, where pretty much all year long they've been winning every freaking tournament. They did kind of let the ball drop during spring in VGL South America, where they actually didn't even make it to quarterfinals. They actually got knocked out like in the first stages of VGL, if you remember that format. They didn't make the top 8 teams at all. So I think they placed like bottom 32, maybe 16. Don't know for sure, but it was in that range. And from there, their senior muster, one of their players from VIPL actually left the team, went to go play for Team Solo Lane, their solo laner, kind of a spin on Team Solo Mid. And since then they've brought in their new player, and um, it's an interesting team. It's gonna be really. I think it's gonna be again where people aren't really gonna know what to expect from this team. So a lot of people, they're already writing off South America. They're like, all right, we've seen how they played at VIPL3. They're not impressive. Um, there hasn't been too many events since VIPL3 for South America, so a lot of people are just saying like they're not gonna really have the time to improve. Um, and a lot of people actually still think the roster is the same. It's not the same. It's a totally new Red Canids. And that's the other thing too is, so I mean they're definitely not a bad team. I mean definitely this is the best team from South America. Um, they've won a lot of tournaments already. Um, they got recognition from Red Canids. They got picked up by Red Canids. So again, I don't know if this team's actually boot camping. I don't actually know how they're going to perform. This team is going to be hit or miss. Um, I think expected scenario is they just get dropped group stage. I'm thinking they actually make it out of group stage. Maybe even elimination. Who knows? Honestly, I think I'm like 60% leaning on they don't make it past elimination stage, but it could happen. I mean, they definitely have had a little bit of time to prepare themselves better this time. I think one of the biggest problems they faced in VAPL 3-2 was that the whole stage fright thing. I'm telling you, this thing like kills teams. I mean, it was their first. They had so much pressure. I mean, this is the flagship team from South America. South America's really close knit community in almost every esport. South American esports kind of band together because a lot of people kind of disrespect the teams from there, and except like for CS:GO with like SK Gaming. Like a lot of people kind of like for example like League of Legends, the World Championships they had, INTZ. This is a team that everyone was like, who the heck are these guys? Like no one cares about these guys. They're from Brazil or whatever. Like we don't want to see them play. And then they go up against like Edward Gaming, which is like one of the top seeds in the tournament, and they wreck them. And everyone was like, what just happened? And I mean, it's happened other years too, where like Kaboom, like just in general, a lot of these South American teams, once they get the nerves out of their system, once they kind of get all the hate that they receive out of the system, they can do really incredible things. They can make big upsets. They can actually carry themselves really hard through game. They can adapt to different metas. So that's literally what's going to come down to. I think right now they have a lot of energy getting picked up by this Red Canids organization. They have a lot of energy with more positive energy throughout the team with the removal of Senior Muster. So, I think if they can get a really, really solid win in their first game of group stage, they're just going to have the energy that they need to kind of get all those nerds out, really just focus on themselves, focus on doing their job the best they can, and just making South America proud. And yeah, so it's definitely possible. The way I see the group happening, the way I actually predicted it, Hunters and Red Canids move on from group stage. Hammer's Velocity gets eliminated. This is a group where I honestly didn't really know which direction to go. Because honestly, all three of these teams, they all have their own really big problems from the looks of it. Again, I mean, I'm not in these like group chats. I don't know if there's like other internal problems or if like these are just like stupid rumors. But I mean, from the looks of it, all three of these teams have their own problems. It's basically gonna be who can kind of within the next like 5-6 days, who can work out the problems the best and show up completely on stage, ready for Worlds. So that's what I predicted though. I'll make episode 2, because this is already a really long video, about elimination stage. I'll probably make that in the next couple days. But thanks for watching episode 1 of Chasing Worlds. To kind of summarize it up, Group A, I think Phoenix Armada and Vivian move on. Group B, I think TSM and Hack move on. Group C, I think Gangstar, Sirius. Oh god, I burped. So Gangstar, Sirius, and Team Snow Avalanche move on. And then for Group D, I think Red Canids and Hunters move on. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for checking out the channel. I will be posting the coaching stuff eventually, probably nearing January 1st. And you know, throughout the year too, I'll also be making videos about like Evil 8 analysis, Arena 8 analysis especially. If you follow my Twitter, you probably know that I'm already kind of really hyped for Arena 8. I'm really excited to see how that's going to all happen. But yeah, so thanks for coming out, checking out the channel, and until next time.